Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasura Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasura Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Thank you. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasura Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasura Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasura Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. So, I'm just winging it, just talking, or is there actual verse or anything like that, or no? I just talk. I can talk. I can do that. Talking I can do. So a couple things came into my mind while we were chanting. Is one that Prabhupada, when he first started giving classes, he never sang Jaya Radha Madhava. That was introduced a few years later. And after Prabhupada introduced this, he explained it a little bit. He says, every time you chant these 4 lines, you're in Vrindavan. This is to bring you to Vrindavan. So before we start class, we're actually going to Vrindavan, which is very, when you think about it, it's very wonderful that Prabhupada gave us this. He says, what a way to start a Bhagavatam class is to take yourself to Vrindavan. Meditate on Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. And then we come back and, oh, we're still here in Haldia. But for those few moments, we're in Vrindavan. You know, and similarly, when chanting Hare Krishna, as you all know, it's no normal sound vibration. So we're actually associating with Krishna when we concentrate on Him, when we are chanting. And the goal of this mantra is to actually experience Krishna dancing on our tongues. And that's actually what we're shooting for. One day, when we become pure, we will actually see Krishna dancing on our tongue when we chant Hare Krishna. And that's the intimacy that we want to get to. That's where we want to head to, that point. So if we're not there yet, we have to keep working on it. We have to concentrate on Krishna's names. When we chant, we have to concentrate with all our energies, blocking out whatever the mind is telling us to go to, wherever places he's trying to pull us away from being with Krishna. So class starts, we're in Vrindavan. Chanting the mantra, we're with Krishna. So this is the nectar of Krishna consciousness. If you sing a song that you hear on the radio, it doesn't transport you anywhere special. You know, sure, you might remember some memories of some event that happened in your life, your important life. It brings you back to, oh, I remember when I was in grade 7 and, you know, the teacher yelled at me and then this person threw something at me, or whatever your memory is, but it's your little limited scope of memories. But when we are associating with Krishna and we're getting into His pastimes, unlimited and blissful, they're blissful. How many blissful memories do we have of our pastimes? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I was actually in the international school in Mayapur, and somebody said to me, what is your favorite memory of not being Krishna conscious? And I thought, that's an interesting question. Okay. And I was thinking, and I was thinking, and I was thinking, and I was like, you know what? Nothing comes to mind. I was really trying to come up with some answer because these kids are so enthusiastically looking at me like, you know, can't wait to hear what he's going to say, you know? And I was like, you know, it's all so insignificant, my memories of not being Krishna conscious. But when he asked me, next question was, what is your favorite memory in Krishna consciousness? I got one right away. Didn't even have to stop and think, because there is one memory that I have in Krishna consciousness that luckily for me, I get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that I remember this pastime I had with Srila Prabhupada. And you probably heard me tell this story, but you're going to hear it again. Because in my memory, I flash through it all the time, and I never get tired of it. Seeing Srila Prabhupada as a memory in my memory bank, okay, it's pretty special. I'm sorry, guys, but it is pretty special. And we hear so much, you can associate with Prabhupada through his books and his lectures and his tapes and all the things you see on YouTube. Yeah, you can. But to have this memory I got in my little wheel in there, woo! I wouldn't trade it for anything. Because it's the most important part, the most important thing that happened in my life. So I'm going to tell it from the start. I usually do the quick version. The start version is I was in New York to receive initiation from Srila Prabhupada. Now, completely naive, completely just a, bhakta, total bhakta. No idea of really what I was doing. But, I kind of got caught in the swell of Krishna consciousness. And it was like, what a swell in the ocean is? It's where these big waves come through, and they call it a swell. And it just takes everything with it. And that's called a swell. It's not a normal wave, it's a big wave. They go, oh, look, surfers say, there's a swell coming in. And that's the ones you want to get on, the swell, because it can take you further. Well, I got caught up in the swell of Krishna consciousness. And my attachment was not to Krishna, honestly. How could it be? I had no idea who Krishna was 6 months prior to this moment. No idea. I never even really heard Krishna. I saw devotees, but I never quite connected. I just could not get into looking like you guys. Sorry. Or me. What am I talking about? I've surrendered. So I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want anything to do with it. A little bit spiritual inside, but not a whole lot, but a little bit. I guess it was so covered over that it didn't swell up. So I didn't become a searcher where I'm looking for the truth. I was just looking for pretty girls. I'm being honest here. Pretty girls, good parties, playing sports, scoring the winning basket. This was what it was all about for me. And it was like, that wasn't working. So I became a devotee. Now, becoming a devotee didn't quite register that this was going to be like for the rest of my life. It was like going to university. You go away somewhere special for 4 years, and then you get your degree. So I thought, I'll just become a Hare Krishna for a few years, become a pure devotee, and, see what happens. Because when I joined in 1975, if somebody was a devotee for 9 years, that means he was the original devotee. And I was like, wow, 9 years. Okay, he's pretty cool. I want to be like that. So maybe 9 years later, I'll be like that. Well, it's been 47 years. I'm still waiting. I haven't got there yet. But I am in the swell of Krishna consciousness. I still am here. Somehow or other, the waves didn't drown me completely. The Maya waves. I'm still in the swell. I'm riding the wave of Krishna consciousness. And that attachment to Krishna consciousness is not with Krishna. Honestly speaking, it's not with Krishna. I'll be really honest with you. My attachment is to Srila Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada saved me. He saved me. Krishna is directing this, but Prabhupada is the one that saved me. So I feel very attached to Srila Prabhupada. Now, if you speak to any of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, in the movement and out of the movement, not even practicing Krishna consciousness at all, 99.9% of them will say they are still attached to Srila Prabhupada. They can't follow the principles, they don't chant rounds, but they love Srila Prabhupada. And that is the effect that Srila Prabhupada had on his 5,000 plus disciples. We fell in love with Srila Prabhupada. Now, seeing Srila Prabhupada, what does a pure devotee look like? I'll tell you what I thought a pure devotee would look like. I'm 6'2". I thought a pure devotee has to be taller than me. Because I'm not pure, so you have to be bigger, I think, to fight off all the, evil thoughts and evil. You got to be big and strong. I'm going with like 6'5", broad shoulders, of just a massive human being. I'm not joking. This is real. This is what I really thought. Because growing up in America, the 6'5" guy with the big shoulders was the most amazing person. He was the quarterback on the football team. He was the center in basketball, the biggest guy, right? And he's always the one that's glorified. The girls love him. All his fellow men love him. Everybody loves him. So I'm thinking that's what a pure devotee is. The biggest, strongest, coolest guy in the world. You just look at him and you're like, wow, yeah, he's so on this particular night, the first time I ever see Srila Prabhupada, a car pulls up. I'm outside the New York Temple, which in 1976 was a 14-story building on West 55th Street in New York. We had this amazing temple. Amazing temple. It was the biggest temple in Iskcon. It was just incredible. 14 floors, elevators, the whole thing. It was an apartment complex. Well, it wasn't filled, and it was a lot wrong with it. So eventually the leaders decided to sell it, which was against Prabhupada's instruction. Prabhupada actually said exact words, "Don't ever sell this building." But the bills got very expensive to heat it because it was so big. And anyway, so they ended up selling it. But this building was very impressive. And I was outside of it chanting japa 9:15 the day before my initiation. Now, I had never seen Srila Prabhupada. So like I was saying, I'm expecting this, big guy. Car pulls up. Srila Prabhupada gets out. By himself. Somebody opened the door for him, but by himself. In 1976, whenever Prabhupada was anywhere, there were sannyasis, GBCs, temple presidents surrounding him. Guys like me about to be initiated don't get close darshan with Srila Prabhupada. So I was just like amazed when Prabhupada stepped out of the car. And I looked, and you've heard this probably on tapes, but devotees have said Prabhupada had a light about him. He lit up the whole area. I was just like, wow. It was like the spiritual world just opened up and Prabhupada came out of it. That's what it really, and I'm not just exaggerating. I was just like, I just couldn't believe it. And like most devotees who see Prabhupada for the first time, I was stunned. You just go, because it's like a pure devotee just stepped out of a car on West 55th Street in New York City, New York, United States of America. And it's like, wow, a pure devotee. And I could see Prabhupada was a pure devotee. You could just see it. How is this possible? How can you see pureness? I could see it. And all of us who became devotees, we could see it in Prabhupada. He just had that air of, I don't really care about anything in this material world except for saving other souls. And that's why I'm here. And you could see that. So I finally got it together. Prabhupada started walking towards me. I finally got it together. You must pay your obeisances. So I paid my obeisances. And as I was getting up, I'm on my knees. Prabhupada was right next to me. Because I was right next to the path into the temple. Prabhupada was right next to me. I'm on my knees, and I look, and Prabhupada's looking at me eye level. I was like, wow, he's really short. Like, really short, like 5'4", really short. But there was something about him that made him look like he was 6'5". Yeah. And I just was looking at Prabhupada, and I just did my pranams, and Prabhupada looked me in the eyes and did his pranams back and shook his head like that and smiled. And I was like, wow. That's a magical moment that I wouldn't trade for anything. Anything. Because that's the vision that I have when people ask me, what is your favorite moment in this world, in this Krishna conscious world? Just any time, it's that. It's seeing Prabhupada look me in the eyes and smiling at me. Because when Prabhupada looked you in the eyes, and we look at each other in the eyes and we just see, okay, here's Kumar, here's da-da-da-da. When Prabhupada looks you in the eyes, he's seeing you here now. He's seeing you last birth, the birth before, the birth before, the birth before. He sees everything. It's kind of like a really scary feeling when someone can do something like that. They're like undressing you. We have all these layers, like, no, I don't want anybody seeing me naked, so I'm putting all these clothes on so nobody sees me. Well, I'm putting all this different things around me so nobody really knows who I am, but Prabhupada looks you in the eyes, he knows who you are. He can see you. He knows, okay, you still got these attachments, you got this, you got that. It's good you're here, but we got some work to do. But Prabhupada would see that. And when he looked at me and smiled, I thought, he sees everything about me? He still smiled at me? Life's good. Life's good. I'm connected with the right person here because this is not a normal person. This is somebody who can see all the bad things inside of me. From this birth, from the last birth, from the birth before that, and he can see where I'm going to go if I just keep it together. And Prabhupada wrote me in like that. And that is the memory that is the most important thing in my life, is that memory of seeing Srila Prabhupada. So I have to admit that that's kind of like a special treat. And that's what gets me here. How else am I here? How else am I sitting in Haldia speaking to you guys? Because that kirtan, just to be straight with you guys, that kirtan was the most fired up Mangal Artik I've been in since probably 1975 or 6. I'm serious. I'm serious. That was the first time. I mean, you guys just look like you're ready to explode. And I was thinking, I can't go so slow for too long because they're just like, I can see it. I can see it. Even the Matajis were like looking at me like, come on. And I was kind of thinking maybe this is just a one-off. It's because I'm here, right? No, you guys do this every day? That's incredible. That's how it used to be. When you hear old devotees say, in the old days, well, in the old days, that's how every single Mangal Artik was. There was no kirtan where you didn't let loose and explode. Because you think about it, you guys are young. You're all young. You have a lot of energy. You got to let it out somewhere. Kirtan's the best place. Like, I'm still letting it out to some extent. To some extent. I have to, do a little bit, and then I have to fade back because the body's saying, chill out, guy. You're 70 years old, Okay, I get it. But I can certainly appreciate seeing, the energy that you're putting into kirtan. Don't think that Krishna doesn't see that, right? Don't think that the parampara is not seeing that. They're seeing. These guys are serious. They're sincere. Okay? You may not be pure devotees yet, but if you keep acting in that way, with that level of sincerity, with that level of genuineness, you will be. You will be. So chanting. Chanting is so very important. And let me tell you 2 stories about chanting that are really interesting, and you can draw your own conclusions. One time on a morning walk, take that back. Let's go back a bit. We're in Melbourne, Australia. This is 1974. Now, the devotees are preparing for Rath Yatra. And the Mataji's job during this Rath Yatra preparation was to paint the Rath carts. So when Prabhupada would go on his morning walk, they never got to go. They were always doing seva. They were actually painting the Rath carts. This one particular day, it is so cold in Melbourne. There's ice all over the carts, so they couldn't paint. So they got to go on the morning walk. So all the women are, this is so cool. Like, they're right there with Prabhupada on a morning walk, first time. Now this one Mataji, she used to chant her japa quite loud. Now you know what it's like in this room. If you have somebody who's really chanting loud like that, and you're next to them, it's like, I can't hear anything. All I can hear is you. But you know that that's good. You know, you're happy for him, but you're kind of like, come on, really? You know? Well, this Mataji used to do that, and all the women were like, oh, you know, somebody say something to her, will you? She's so loud. But she always chanted loud. Now, this particular morning walk, they got to go. She was actually right behind Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada wasn't talking so much. He was chanting his japa. She's walking behind Prabhupada, and she's chanting her japa. Now, she starts out kind of subdued, for her, subdued. You know, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, you know, okay, not so bad. And she's concentrating on Prabhupada's feet. A lot of devotees on morning walks would just watch Prabhupada's feet, especially if they're just out there for like the first time, because lotus feet you don't see so much. Prabhupada's feet, they're right there. It's like, wow, I'm going to watch them. So she's walking behind Srila Prabhupada, watching his feet, and she's chanting. The longer they walked, the louder she got. And she started raising her volume up a little bit louder, and she's chanting really loud. And all the other women are thinking, finally, someone's going to say something to her, right? Because she's so loud. And Prabhupada stopped. And she almost banged into Prabhupada because she was just watching his feet. And she had to stop herself. And all the other Matajis are going, Prabhupada's going to... He's going to give it to her. Finally, somebody's going to say something to her. And Prabhupada turns and looks at her and goes, nice chanting. Very nice chanting. And all the Manas are like, oh, instead of getting chastised, she got glorified. Oh, well. And there's another story. My friend, Kirti Raj, he is 6'5", and he's a very tall person. And he was very intelligent, and he did a lot of wonderful service. He was a GBC and opened up Russia, actually. He's one of the main devotees who went to Russia. Anyway, he was sitting in Prabhupada's room in 1972 in Los Angeles. And Prabhupada is sitting at his low desk, and he was doing some bookwork, just, tallying up a few of the expenses and doing like that. And a few devotees were waiting for Prabhupada to finish, so they were going to have some talk about something. And Kirti Raj was there. He was one of them. So he's sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada's doing some bookwork. And Kirti Raj is starting to chant his japa while he's sitting, waiting. And he's going like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And every mantra through, he was becoming more enlivened by his chanting. He was thinking, I'm chanting so nicely. Surely Prabhupada is going to say something to me because, I'm right here. He's listening to me chanting the mantra so clearly, so nicely, and he's chanting thinking like that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Little smile on his face. He's proud of himself. He's chanting nice. Prabhupada looks up from his desk. Chant nicely, chant softly. Kirti Raj was like, oh. He wasn't ready for that. He thought Prabhupada was going to say something glorifying him. Instead, he got yelled at. Chant softly. I thought we were... Anyway, that's what he was thinking. And as he thought about it, he was thinking, yeah, I was just showing off. That's all I was doing. I wasn't chanting Krishna's names because I want to glorify Krishna. I wanted to be glorified by the chanting of the names. So Prabhupada noticed it and chastised him. So that's an interesting concept. One's chanting loud and gets credit, and one chants loud and gets yelled at. So what is it? What is it? It's not the action itself. It's what's coming from your heart. Mataji was chanting with all her heart. It just so happened she's loud. The Prabhu was chanting not from his heart. He wanted to be recognized. So the action is the same. They're both chanting nicely loud, but one's thinking one thing, one's thinking another thing. So it's not the action, it's the what's in your heart, right? It's the bhakti. And that's what we're trying to learn. There's a story in Vrindavan. There was this man who used to get the water for bathing the deities in Vrindavan. This was his service. He loved doing this service. He was always on time, very efficient, bring the water for bathing the deities from the Jamuna. That was his seva. As he got older, he had to give it up. And he got too old to carry the bucket, he had to give it up. And he was in anxiety. Who can do this like I can do this? I was so good at this that I'm never going to find somebody who can do it like I could do it. There was another Mataji who used to do it as well. Older woman. And she used to carry the bucket. She stopped doing it. She couldn't do it anymore. She actually left her body shortly after giving up the seva. And Radhanath Swami said that Mataji went back to Godhead. She didn't do it as well as the other guy. He didn't go back to Godhead. Why? Because he was thinking about himself. So the consciousness is so very important. It's not the actions, it's the consciousness. When we lead a kirtan, how are we thinking? Oh, aren't I wonderful? I have such a wonderful voice. Or are we just thinking, let me please glorify Krishna to the best of my abilities? So it's our consciousness is very important. Very important thing to always remember. How are we feeling inside when doing something? Are we doing it for credit? Do we want to be noticed? Or are we doing it to please Krishna, to please our spiritual master, to even please our fellow devotees? So consciousness is very, very important. There's a story that in, I think it was 1969, they were recording the Govindam prayers. We all know the Govindam prayers, correct? Prabhupada loved them so much that he said that this should be played in every temple forever. Forever. And there were devotees who didn't like it. And they tried to get it stopped. They didn't like it. Do you know why they didn't like it? Because the woman's singing. They're thinking, how can we have a woman singing in our temple? This is during the time when they wanted to kick women out of the temples. But Prabhupada didn't want that. So they wanted to stop it. But Prabhupada loved it so much. First time he heard Jamuna sing it, tears came down. He said, this is beautiful. There's something about Jamuna's voice. Why was there something about her voice? Is it so special? But she had so much bhakti, so much love. That's what she was, like love. She was so sweet, so nice, so cared about devotees. Prabhupada loved her and she loved Prabhupada. So one day she was sitting in the studio after recording Govindam. And she was just sitting there by the piano. Didn't know anything was going on, just sitting in the studio. And she started singing, Bhaja Mana Hooray. Does everybody get that? Bhaja Mana Hooray. It's not the words, it's Bhaja Hooray Mana. She was singing Bhaja Mana Hooray. And she was singing that. Didn't know that the words were wrong. Meanwhile, the executive electronic guy in the studio hears her singing it and thinks, this is beautiful. He records it. She didn't know. He records it. It becomes the flip side, the B side, as they used to call it, little record they made. And they put it out. And all the devotees were like, oh, listen to Jamuna. Because, she was a very powerful woman. And a lot of the men didn't like her. So they were saying, oh, the Jamuna, she didn't know the words. She doesn't even know the words. And they put it on a thing. It's so embarrassing. And she was embarrassed. She got the words wrong. It was recorded. She didn't know it was going to be recorded. It was recorded. Prabhupada heard it. And they were waiting for Prabhupada to say something to her. Prabhupada says, this is very nice. Very nice. But Prabhupada, the words are wrong. Prabhupada says, anybody who hears this will become devotee. Because she is so pure. So it's about the purity. Later he said to her, if you ever do that again, make sure you get the words right. But that's after the fact. They put the record out, everything was fine. Nobody knew the better. But it's the heart, it's what's inside. So often we think that it's about how many shlokas we know, right? How much knowledge do we have? It's important. It's the most important? No. It's about what's in your heart. So how to develop your heart? Well, they say that this Hare Krishna mantra cleanses the heart of all the dust. Is that fair to say? Does anybody notice that when we're chanting Hare Krishna, you feel a little happier, a little more pure? Is that why we do it? I hope the answer is yes. Because it's actually the medicine for cleansing this disease that we have. It's the medicine. So if we take this medicine religiously with all our heart, give it all the energy that we have, like you guys did for Mangalarti. It's really hard to be in Maya when you give all your energy to Krishna. Isn't that a fact? Very hard. Just like when you're chanting japa. It's easy to fall into thoughts of the mind if you're not putting your full concentration. And that is one of the hardest tasks that devotees have, is concentrating on the mantra when chanting japa. Just like it's very difficult if you get up very early in the morning to stay awake in class. Right? Isn't that the fact? I'll be honest. The first time I heard Srila Prabhupada give class, Bhagavatam class, I don't remember one word he said. Not one word. I couldn't tell you what the class was about. You know, everybody said, well, I was in a class and Prabhupada was talking about, I don't remember anything. I was so tired because I used to work so hard distributing books. So I never felt too bad about it because I knew I was giving everything I had. Everything I had. So in the morning, after just getting 5 or 6 hours sleep, I was like this. Kirtan, I could jump around, but once Kirtan was over and I had to sit down for class, that's when it hit me. And I never felt bad about that because I knew that I was doing what my spiritual master wanted me to do, was distribute his books. Now, if I had done a half try of distributing, sat down a lot, and took it easy, I'd probably have the energy to listen to class nicely. But if you're working really hard, like no class giver wants to see everybody's eyes dropping. So therefore, I'll tell you just a quick thing. Whenever I give class, which is not very often, I was doing it years ago, but I've kind of stopped. The main point for me is to keep everybody awake. And there was always a challenge, because there's one devotee in Mayapur who always falls asleep in class. Always. He's a very exalted soul. But I always keep him awake. And that is like my pride and joy. Because I keep him awake, not just by yelling and I tell funny stories. And he wants to hear them, so he stays awake. You know who the person is? Take a wild guess. The most senior devotee in all of Mayapur, Jananivas. Jananivas has planned naps during Bhagavatam class. Somehow or other he hears the class, but he's always asleep. But my classes, he would never sleep. I was so proud of that. Really. I mean, it was like, it warmed my heart. I used to try to give a philosophical class, quoting Bhagavatam, and everybody would be like, I thought, okay, I'm not going to do that. Let somebody else do that. I'm going to tell you a story. And everybody goes, oh, a story. I'll stay awake for that. So, you just have to figure out what you need to do what you need to do. Like, you guys are on such a nice trajectory back to Godhead. Really, you are. You cannot do what you did in the morning and not make advancement. You can't. You just can't jump around like that and not make advancement. That's selling out for Krishna. Yeah, it's fun. Why is it fun? Because Krishna's enjoying it. Krishna's enjoying it. He's enjoying seeing you guys jumping around like that. So he's saying, okay, they're doing this for me. I'll let you have some fun with it. Have some fun. That's why you guys are all smiling, and it's just wonderful. There's nothing better than chanting and dancing. Prabhupada made that really clear. He said, keep it very, very simple. Very simple. So have I told you my instruction from Prabhupada's story? I haven't told you guys that yet. Oh, okay. Yeah, you've heard it. Yeah, okay. You guys know. And I told you the full version with the dundas and all that. I told you that. You didn't hear the dundas? You did. You know about the dundas in that story? Okay, I told you the abridged version. This is the full version. For those who already know the ending, you just have to bear with it, but we'll get to it. But you'll hear stuff you didn't hear on the way to the ending. So, I'm in New York City. This is the first Guru Puja with Srila Prabhupada. I'm a Bhakta. Haven't been initiated yet. But I wanted to see what Srila Prabhupada looked like on the Vyasa-san. Now, the temple room was completely packed because there were devotees from all around the world, especially America and Canada, there for this first Rath Yatra in New York City. Extremely important Rath Yatra. Prabhupada wanted it. I've told you that story, how we got the Rath Yatra. No? Ooh. All right. Let's do the how we get to the Rath Yatra story. So Prabhupada wanted a Rath Yatra in New York City. And he asked one of his leading managers, Toshan Krishna, who was a really, really good organizer. Very thought clear, figure things out, how to do things. He asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada asked him, go get permission for us to have a Rath Yatra down 5th Avenue. Does anybody ever know what 5th Avenue is? The most expensive street in the world. All the shops are like so high end. The banking places, everything is money, 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 money. It's the most expensive street in the whole world. And Prabhupada wanted a Rath Yatra down 5th Avenue. Now previously, a few years before this, they had had some parades and they got out of hand. People did a few things and there were some things going on. So they passed a rule in New York, no more parades down 5th Avenue. And everybody knew about it. So people would, just accept if you want to have a parade, you go somewhere else, not down 5th Avenue. So Prabhupada asked this devotee, you go get permission for this parade down 5th Avenue. And the devotee knew there's no way. But Prabhupada asked me to do it. So he goes into the office where you get the permit to get a parade down 5th Avenue. He asks for the permit. The lady behind the desk says, oh, so you want to have a parade? You Hare Krishnas? Yes. Oh, okay. Where did you want to have this parade? And the devotee says, well, my spiritual master would like it to go down 5th Avenue. And she kind of just looks at him and goes, there's a... And he goes, yeah, I know. But my spiritual master asked me to do this, so can I just have the papers? She goes, sure, you fill them out. Do what you want. So he fills out the papers, hands them back to her. She goes, okay, very nice, thank you. Goes to put it away. And he says, no, can you just pass it on to the guy who gives the permission? And again, she looks at him and goes, there's a law against. He goes, I know, but could you just ask him, head it, just for me? Because my spiritual master has asked me. He is my life and soul. He is my guru. He is my teacher. And he has asked me to do this, so can you just do this for me? And she liked him because he was so sweet and genuine. So she's okay, I will pass it on. Next thing you know, the guy steps out of his office with the papers in hand. He says, are you, I forget what his Karmi name was, but he says, are you so-and-so? He says, yes. He says, well, come into my office. And Toshan's thinking, well, that's a step in the right direction. At least he's letting me in the office. That's pretty cool. So he puts the papers down on the desk. Toshan's sitting there like, And the guy says, So, you Hare Krishnas, huh? I see you guys out on the street a lot. I like that singing stuff. It's really interesting. Where does this originate? And he starts explaining the whole movement and like that. And he invites him to the Sunday feast. He says, we have this vegetarian food that we serve out. And he goes, oh, that's kind of nice. Yeah, I've been thinking about being a vegetarian, but I still like my meat. So, I'll probably will never be full-on vegetarian, but I wouldn't mind trying your food. So they said, please come to our temple one time. It's a very large building on West 55th Street. You can't miss it. Please come. And then he goes, okay, maybe I'll do that one day. And he's looking through the thing. He says, yeah, Fifth Avenue. You know what? It's a shame because you guys, it would kind of be like colorful to seeing all you Hare Krishna. How many people do you think would be there? He goes, Toshan said, maybe about 1,000. About 1,000. They're coming from all around the world for this. If we have it, it'd be a sight. Put it on TV. We could, Guy goes, that's interesting. The Hare Krishnas right down Fifth Avenue. Wouldn't that be amazing? Shame there's this law though. And he's thinking about it. And he says, you guys are pretty, you're not like violent, are you? He says, no, we're not like that. We would take care of it, and there would be nothing out of the ordinary. We just sing and dance. That's all we do. We sing and dance. And we'd have these carts. They're so colorful. They'd be large. Our spiritual master, he's from India. He's a guru, a sannyasi guru. He would be sitting there, and we would just be singing and dancing. Oh, the wonderfulness of it for New York. New York would be so proud to see all this. It'd be like a cultural event. You guys would be like, guys, is that real? Really? Yeah, you guys like 1,000 of you, all different colors and girls wearing those colors. Yeah, he says, it'd be amazing. He says, wow, that'd be something, wouldn't it? Yeah. It's never happened around here? No, not around here. West Coast, San Francisco, Los Angeles, we have had these, but not. He goes, wow, that'd be something for New York, wouldn't it? Yeah. Fifth Avenue, though. Hey, you know what? I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to sign this thing. So he signs it. He gives it to Toshan. Toshan just quickly, thank you, sir. Heads out before he changes his mind. It's like, and Toshan's going back to the temple. Oh my God. I got the permission. He goes running back, goes, I gotta see Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, yes, send him in. He goes running into Sri Srila Prabhupada, pays his obeisances, and gets up and he goes, Prabhupada, I got permission for the parade for Rath Yatra on Fifth Avenue. And Prabhupada went, yes. Toshan was like, that's it? And Toshan went out and told everybody this story. Everybody's like, wow, Prabhupada knew you were going to get that. So there it is. There's the Rath Yatra in New York City. So I'm there for this Rath Yatra. I'm there to take initiation from Srila Prabhupada. So this is a very special moment for me. So the Guru Puja. I'm in Guru Puja. I'm way in the back. I can't see Srila Prabhupada. And that's all I wanted to see. I just wanted to watch him play cartels and, just see him. Because I knew I would never get a lot of opportunities. So this is important to me. So I start pushing my way through the crowd. Okay, what's the big deal, Just a few brahmacharis, move them out of the way. I used to play basketball, so I'm pretty good with moving people out of the way. So I'm getting closer and closer. Now it's not brahmacharis. Now it's like GBCs, temple presidents. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm this close. Why stop now? I want to see Prabhupada. So I start pushing GBCs, temple presidents, Sankirtan leaders. I'm just a normal bhakta, and I'm pushing through. I'm getting really close to Prabhupada. I'm probably as close, right, as Prabhupada's picture is right there. But there's something blocking my way. There's all these guys with sticks. There must be 40 of these guys. All with sticks. And some of them are kind of big, too. Big guys. Brahmananda, big guy. Guru Kripa, you probably don't even know some of these names, but Guru Kripa was a gangster. He was like a tough guy. There's a bunch of these guys, and they're like the leaders in our society. Sannyasis, Maha Plate, everywhere they go. What a wonderful life. Traveling, preaching, they're in my way. So I think, okay, you got this far. You may never get this opportunity again. I start pushing sannyasis out of the way. Okay? Offensive? Probably. But to see Prabhupada, I'm taking up that offense. It's okay. I'm going to do it. I start pushing them. Now, like I said, they carry sticks, right? We all know that. Dandas, they're called. They carry them. Here's the thing I didn't know. That when you become a sannyasi, back in the 70s, they did a thing called danda defense. They taught them how to use a danda in defense. So the sannyasis in the first row were not as fired up as the ones right near Prabhupada, but they were just hitting me on the foot. Like, Bhakta, get out of here. Banging the thing on my foot. And I'm like, dodging my feet back and forth. Of course, I got hit a few times, but, you know, I used to play basketball. I'm used to being hit. I know. It's, you know, you got to take your lumps to get where you want to go. So then I started pushing a little closer. Now I'm getting to the real big-time sannyasis. The ones that Prabhupada loved, the ones that are right around Prabhupada, but I am so close. I can see Prabhupada, but there's still dandas in my way. So I start pushing through the big guys, the big guns in Iskcon. And they don't hit me in the foot. They're hitting me in the shins. Because they know that hurts way more than the foot. A danda to the shin really hurts. And trust me, it did really hurt. I got black and blue marks on both of my shins from these these wonderful sannyasis hitting me with their dandas. But I got right in front of Srila Prabhupada. And I would die to see a picture, but nobody took a picture. Can you imagine that? You got like Kirtananda, Brahmananda, Satsarup, all these big-time original devotees, sannyasis standing there, and there's Bhakta Joe. I was amongst all the senior devotees and me. And they're all looking like, who's this guy? Right there, looking at Srila Prabhupada. But they're so packed, so many people were so tightly packed in there that nobody was moving. We're all just standing there. So I'm standing like this close to Srila Prabhupada, and I'm watching him. He had his eyes closed. He was chanting. And then he opened his eyes and he looked at me. And I'm sure he was thinking, what the heck's this guy doing here? Who's he? But he didn't say anything. He just looked at me and he went, right? That's the dance. Like, if you're going to be here, you committed so many offenses, don't just stand there, dance. So that's what I did. And I took that as an instruction because it is very important. And there's two things in this. It's chant and dance. It's not just dance. And it's not just chant. It's chant and dance. So the one thing I'll give you guys as advice, when you're having a rip-roaring kirtan, remember to chant. Right? You're getting the dancing part down, but a lot of you guys weren't chanting. I was noticing that. Okay? So remember, chant and dance. Such a simple process. Chant and dance. Prabhupada even said, if you play the mridanga and you don't chant, you're just making music. If you play the mridanga and you chant Hare Krishna, perfect. So if you're a mridanga player, if you're a kartal player, or if you're an ecstatic dancer, remember to chant. So very important. Okay. This is kind of like, okay, maybe just one more since we're in the New York Rath Yatra. Let's get initiated. Okay? Have I done my initiation story? My name? Where's the other guy who's been to my name? You know how I got my name? You know? Joe, you heard that part. Okay. For all the other guys who don't know. Okay, so I'm in New York, about to get initiated. I'm sitting there. I'm in front of Srila Prabhupada. I'm about to get my beads. I'm about to get my name. And I'm feeling so scared. I'm nervous as anything. But inside I'm also really ecstatic because I know I'm going to get a name that is so different than my Karmi name, my passport name. My name was Joe. And I always thought, what a stupid name, Joe. I mean, it got nothing to it, Joe. I was like, bleh, Joe. So I'm thinking, give me a cool name, Prabhupada. I want a cool name. I want one that's like so cool. You just say it, yeah, cool name. It's a cool name. So I knew Prabhupada would give me this. And that's what initiation in my little immature, unadvanced way meant to me. Getting a cool name. Not really anything else deep and wonderful, but I just thought, I'm going to get a cool name. That's all I could think about. I'm going to get a really cool name. So Prabhupada asked me the regular principles. Got them down. Said them right. A couple people before me, he asked, what are the 4 regular principles? And this person stuttered a little bit. He didn't, he was so nervous. He was, and, it was, illicit sex and no illicit sex, and he was doing like that. And then Prabhupada said to him, so which one is your favorite? And everybody's laughing. And the kids thinking, I kind of like them all, but But I mean, Prabhupada was just having some fun because he was so nervous. He was trying to calm him down, but it didn't quite work like that. But everybody else was not nervous after that. They laughed. It was fun. Which one's your favorite? But anyway, so I got it right. And Prabhupada hands me my beads. The magical moment's about to happen. He says, your name is Jivanath. Now I kind of understood that, Jivanath, because Jagannath, I had Jagannath deities where I was from, so I understood Nath, and Jiva I'd heard before, Jivanath, okay, it makes sense, Lord of the Jivas. And inside, I'm having a party. I'm just like, woo, yeah, all right. I got a cool name. No more Joe. Now I'm Jivanath. And I'm really, really ecstatic. Of course, I'm just doing this, taking the beads from Prabhupada. But then he looks me in the eye and he goes, Das. Oh, yeah, right. Okay. All right, well, it's Krishna's cool name, and I'm the Das. All right. So that was my second and only instruction. I only got 2 instructions. Remember, you're always a servant, right? We can get that. We're all just servants. No matter how cool we think we are, we're just a servant. And always chant and dance. These are just so simple instructions, aren't they? So simple. We don't need to complicate this process. We can keep it very simple. If you remember to chant and dance and remember you're a servant of Krishna, that's all you really need to know. The rest of it is not as important as those 2 points. And luckily for me, being such a simple person, that those were the 2 points of emphasis that Prabhupada gave me. Not by chance, I'm sure. That's why I can sit here after 47 years sitting in front of you as the American sadhu. That's a cool thing. That's what Prabhupada wanted though. But I can mention that later when we talk, because that is really what Prabhupada wants us to do. Just simplify this process. Keep it simple. Don't complicate it. Just keep it simple. Know that the chanting of Hare Krishna purifies your heart. When your heart is purified and you act on that level, you will do nice things for Krishna. Right? And remember, you're only here to serve. Everybody's got to serve. You serve your wife, you serve your friends, you serve your job, you serve your this, you serve your that, your parents. We're all serving. Why not serve the Supreme? Why not serve Krishna? So we're all serving. You're not going to get away from it. There's no way you're going to be the master, the glorious leader of the world, or the leader of your house. You're nothing. You don't get that in this life. In this material life, you don't get that. All you get is the opportunity to serve. So serve who? Serve Krishna. So simple. And if you're a simple-hearted person like myself, and serving Krishna maybe is a little bit a step beyond where my concentration can go, serve your spiritual master. Serve your temple leader. Serve your fellow devotees. Keep it real. Keep it right here. You will make so much advancement in Krishna consciousness. Okay? Thank you so much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, questions. Let's make it very informal. Go for it. Water. Anybody have a question? An informal question, not a formal question. Nothing from Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or all those books, Just a straight up guy-to-guy question. Anybody have a question? Why be a devotee? Why be a devotee? Why are you a devotee? You ever thought about it? It's a serious question, though. Think about it. Why should we do this process? That's a good question. Why are we doing this? Why not just be like everybody else out there and just, get your job and wife and house and car and just do all that and get old gracefully, grandchildren around you? What a life. It's nice. Why are we doing this? Jumping around usually at 4:30 in the morning, but here at 7. Maybe that's why you're so fired up. Because it's 2.5 hours later. Maybe at 4:30 you'd still be like, but here, you're like, Lila, look, come on, say something. But think about it. Think about why are you doing it? Because it's important to know. If you don't know why you're doing this, then why do it? Because he's doing it, you're doing it? Why? Do you really believe that if you chant Hare Krishna, you can go back to Godhead? Question. Do you? Or is this just something better than out there? But you don't really get it. Because if you really, really believe that this chanting works, that it really works, you wouldn't minimize the importance of it by not fully participating. Correct? You'd really go for it. And every opportunity you get to chant, you put yourself into it 100%. It's like being on the ladder. To get to the top, you have to keep taking those steps. So every time you chant, you're taking a step up that ladder, back to Godhead. But everybody's ladder is a little bit longer or a bit shorter. You don't know. You don't know. So the more effort you put into this process, the closer you're going to get. And for somebody like Kumar, maybe he's only a few more years away from pure devotee, going back to Godhead. Who knows? We don't know. Or maybe he's way lower than all of you guys. Who knows? Who knows, right? But the energy that we put in is never lost. It's never forgotten. That is one thing I can truly attest to. Because I was a devotee, a full-on devotee for 7 years only. And then I ran into some difficulties. And I slowly distanced myself. This is what happened to a lot of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. There was a lot of problems. We discussed this on the car ride here. It was difficult. I slowly distanced myself. I started hanging out with devotees who were not quite full-on devotees, because I wasn't a full-on devotee. And gradually I just distanced myself so far away. And then I realized, wait a minute, what are you doing? I was thinking, okay, this life, that's it. I kind of blew it. I'm too far away from devotees. I didn't really like some of the people I knew back when I left. Okay, next life. And then I thought, wait a minute. You didn't do all that hard work, all that austerity, sleeping on the floor. I didn't do all that and book distribution for 12 hours a day. I didn't do all that just to take next life. No, let's go for this life. So Prabhupada actually said, you know what, you did. You distributed a lot of my books. You sold out for 7 years anyway. I'm going to bring you back. And made all the arrangements for me just to come right back in. He brought me to beautiful temple, Mayapur. I ended up in Mayapur, where I can be a dancing white elephant or American sadhu. I like that one better than dancing white elephant. But American sadhu is great. And that's what I am. Somehow or other, Prabhupada's turned me, an American, into a sadhu of some description, but a sadhu. Right? Why am I sitting on this big chair and you're sitting down there looking at me? Because you see me as an American sadhu. That's Prabhupada's mercy. That's selling out to the Guru. That's all I did. I sold out for only 7 years, okay? Complete sellout. Brahmachari, sellout, full on. Then got married and slowly drifted. But I was sold out for 7 years. For those 7 years, Prabhupada never forgot it. Never forgot it. And he allows me to come back and be like this, to talk about Prabhupada, about his movement, about this Hare Krishna mantra. I don't know a lot of Shastra. I apologize. But I don't nearly need to, because I'm like that woman who carried the bucket of water. I'm trying to be like that woman. Just trying to purify my heart and do some simple seva. Harinam is simple. It doesn't require me to have a PhD to go chant Hare Krishna. Nobody knows if you're a PhD in the middle of a kirtan, do they? When you guys are all dancing ecstatically, nobody's asking for your credentials. Nobody says, how many shlokas do you know? It doesn't matter at that point, because you're simply purifying yourself, glorifying Krishna. So we just want to stay simple. And also keep it in your mind. Why are you a devotee? Should be one simple answer. What if you said, ask me why am I a devotee? Why am I a devotee? I'll answer that question. I'm a devotee because I find the chanting of Hare Krishna ecstatic. I love it. There's nothing better. And I often used to say, if you find something better, tell me, because I'll do it. I'll do it. If there's something better out there, let me know. I'll do it. But until that time, and until somebody comes and says that to me, chanting Hare Krishna is the best thing you can possibly do in this world. Nothing better. There's nothing better. Nothing. There's no other way. There's no other way. This is it. And it's understandably we can become, deep into our thought process of, I understand this philosophy, it's very unique, it makes sense. But if you understand with your heart that Hare Krishna chanting is the only way you're going back to Godhead, it's the only way you will have any kind of real joy in this world, is simply by chanting Hare Krishna. If you become convinced of this, you don't even need to read Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada said that himself. Not that I should tell people this, but Prabhupada did say that. He did say, if you're convinced of this process of chanting Hare Krishna, you don't need to read the books. You'll just chant Hare Krishna 24 hours a day. So let's try to get to that stage. Anybody want to ask a question? Everyone is 100% convinced. That's wonderful. We need to be. That's the process. Yes.
I told that you like to distribute books.
Yes.
So Prabhupada also said that these books are not just to distribute, it's for to read also.
Yes.
So how to understand?
Well, what don't you understand? But we're in the same boat as everybody else in this world. We're all just jiva souls, and we're all floundering around. We know it's good for every other jiva soul. We should also know it's good for us. So when you remember when you first read Prabhupada's books, do you remember? I remember very clearly. I remember the first time I got a book, I went home, I read, and 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 I moved in. Because it was just like, wow, it just makes so much sense. Prabhupada made it so clear that Krishna's God. And He is the Supreme, and we are servants. It's so clear. And this chanting of Hare Krishna is the process to understand this more and more and more so that we don't have to ever come back here again. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. It makes sense. So Prabhupada's books are there to convince you of this process, and that's why we read them. But like I was saying, I'm not saying don't read the books. If you're 100% convinced, you don't need to read the books. This is probably not a good story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. In London, Shyam Sundar, you've heard of him, right? Chasing the Rhino book. Amazing person. He was the temple president in, it was Bury Place. And he wasn't chanting his rounds. He was working, fixing the temple, doing this, doing that, but he wasn't chanting his rounds. And a couple of devotees went to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, Shyam Sundar's not chanting his rounds. And Prabhupada said, do you see what he does? How hard he works? He says, he does not need to chant his rounds. Everybody was like, wow. You don't have to chant your rounds? No, he doesn't have to. You do, he doesn't. Then Prabhupada said, Arjuna never chanted. But the point is that if you're fully engaged in whatever service you're doing, and I mean fully engaged, maybe you don't need to read the books. You're so absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Shyam Sundar was absorbed in pleasing Prabhupada. It was his life and soul, his every breath. That's all he worried about. That's all he cared about. He would work 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day, non-stop working. Same with Jayananda. You've heard of him, right? He wouldn't come to darshans with Prabhupada. He didn't want to do it. He just wanted to do service and didn't care what it was. He just wanted to serve. He understood. He's a pure devotee. He got it. When we actually get it, then we just want to serve in whatever way we can. The books are there to convince you of this. If you're not 100% convinced, read Prabhupada's books. Okay? But fill your life with Krishna. Whether it's chanting, reading, service, whatever it is. If you can go 24 hours a day, fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, you'll choose whatever path is the one for you. You may be somebody who needs to sit and read all day, and that's what will convince you more and more. Or you may be somebody who wants to just chant Hare Krishna in the streets all day, and that's what convinces you. Or just chant japa, Haridas Thakur, chanting japa all day long. But we all have a certain propensity for a taste of what Krishna consciousness is for us, and that's the one we should dwell on. But you add everything in, and then it becomes a nice package. I read. I don't remember so much, but I like reading. I love chanting. I love chanting japa. It would put me in a different place. I actually like chanting japa. I love Harinam. I love Kirtan. I don't like bhajan. I never grew up with bhajan, so bhajan was like, why are we sitting down? Stand up. You know? They asked me to do Kirtan Mela. Did you see that? I did Kirtan Mela this year for the first time. And I started out sitting for a few minutes. Then I made everybody in the temple room stand up and dance. And we had a wild kirtan. It wasn't, nobody else. I didn't care. I'm too old to care. I just made everybody stand up. I said, unless you have a note from your doctor, stand up. They're all looking around, what? Is there something wrong with your legs? Get up. And they made everybody in the temple room stand up. It was ecstatic. It was like 500 people all jumping up and down for Kirtan Mela. It was really good. So just find what's your thing that you really want to give to Krishna. If it's your knowledge, you want to gain more knowledge so that you can preach, that's wonderful. If you want to chant japa and just be absorbed in the holy name, Prabhupada said that's service. Chanting japa is service. Doing Harinam is service. Cleaning the pots is service. Cooking prasadam is service. Just something, but keep yourself engaged. That's the key. And that's why this process has been set up by Prabhupada. If you can come to Mangal Artik and you have to change your shirt afterwards, that's a good kirtan. Right? He was drenched in sweat. He had to go change his shirt. That's a good kirtan. Yeah. Anything else? Loud.
Whenever I chant, I get too much distractions on that.
Whenever I chant, I get distracted.
Distracted. Join the crowd. We all get distracted because it's a battle, isn't it? It's a battle. And it's not an easy battle, but you just have to be determined to win more than you lose. But it's hard, isn't it? You're so conditioned to listen to your mind. You were so conditioned. Like I used to tell people, 8 years ago, I took a vow to go to Mangal Artik and the whole morning program. I retired from business life. I said, I'm just going to, be a full-on devotee like I was back in 1975. The whole program. People said, how do you get up every morning? I said, well, it's really simple. I don't listen to my mind. My mind says, oh, just stay in bed 5 more minutes. And I don't know. No. Sorry, mind. You can hit me up later. Like after 9 o'clock in the morning, go for it. But until 9 o'clock, forget about it. I'm doing this program. And believe it or not, it actually works. Because if you don't give your mind a little bit of leeway to enter into and take over you, it can't. You're still in control, but you're giving in. So your mind is saying, okay, what are we going to eat for lunch today? I wonder, or, I got to go do this or do that, but just say, wait a minute, mind. We can do this later. It doesn't have to be now. It's like a little kid when you're in a conversation with another adult and a little kid's like tugging on your dhoti. Wait, you can just wait. We can do this in a minute. It's not going to, change the world. Same thing, your mind is going to keep trying to pull you away from japa. Just say, wait, hold on. Just let me finish my japa. Then you can come at me, right? So you're like, almost like making a deal, not going to say with the devil, but with your mind. Because your mind is like the devil sometimes. But you make a deal with it. So just give me this, all right? Let me get up in the morning, let me do my japa. Then you can put all these nonsense thoughts in my mind. But by then, you're stronger because you've done the morning program. You've chanted your japa so you can defeat your mind. So, play games with it. And treat your mind like a person. That's what I always do. I even speak to, look, no, sorry. No, we're not going there. We're getting up. And we're going to chant good japa today, okay? So just forget about it. Don't even try to come in. And you actually concentrate on the Hare Krishna mantra. The more you do, the more your mind will back off. So the more you give into it, just even a little bit, then the mind's like, okay, we're getting a foothold here. Almost got him. All right, he put his beads down. Cool. So it's a battle going on, but you have to win that battle. That's why Krishna gives us free will. You have the will. You can say no. Mind, just chill. Wait. Just wait. Wait till I take prasadam after breakfast. As I'm heading out the door, come at me with all you got. But by then, you'll be so strong because you've chanted japa nicely. You've done Mangal Artik. Everything's wonderful. So you've got yourself a foundation to defeat your mind. But just beat it in the morning. That's why Bhaktisiddhanta says, beat it with a stick, beat it with a shoe. You got to do it. You got to figure it's a fight, it's a battle, and you got to be the tougher one. And sometimes you have to be the aggressor. Before it can get to you, you got to get to it. You got to say, no, mind, forget it. After 9 o'clock, fine. You want to put nonsense thoughts in my head? Go for it. Because after 9 o'clock, I'm going to have a stronger defense against that. Because I'm going to have a taste from chanting Hare Krishna. I'm going to have a taste from dancing with the devotees. So you'll be a stronger spirit soul at that particular time. And you'll be able to defeat your mind. It's a battle. You can win it. Yes, Prabhu.
What was the field by which you attracted to Prabhupada as well as Krishna consciousness?
What was the...
What attracted you to Prabhupada?
Oh, the fact... I'll be honest. I could give you the, spiritual kind of answer, but I'll give you the real answer. I played sports. I really like teams. I like being on a team. And I thought I was far out. I thought I was like a far out person. I should be like a super rock star or an actor or a sports, somebody famous and wonderful, and I wasn't going to happen. So I thought, what's far out? And then meeting the devotees and say, what's more far out than being a Hare Krishna? Come on. How is that, Take that, society. Nothing to do with you. Look at me. I got a shaved head. I'm wearing sheets. I look nothing like you. So I was really very attracted to the far outness of being a Hare Krishna. And the more I understood the philosophy, the more I realized I was making the right choice. But being a Hare Krishna is just so against material life, and that's what I liked about it. I didn't want to be a part of the material world. I always felt not connected. When I was in university, I did not want to be anything other than those things I said. You don't go to university to be a rock star. You don't go to university, but you do go for basketball. But I hurt myself, dropped out, so I was like, okay, that whole, my dreams of material life ain't gonna happen. But in spiritual life, you can dream as much as you want about being a pure devotee. We can work towards it. There's a goal, and you can feel the improvement every day, can't you? When you chant Hare Krishna, don't you feel better every day? I feel better every day. Even at this advanced age, I still get a wonderful buzz from chanting Hare Krishna. Like standing here in that Mangal Arti, I was like, I wish I had a video camera. I want to show everybody what's going on here. Because this Haldia place is fired up. And it's not by accident. You are allowing Krishna consciousness to swell, and you're joining in that swell. It's an incredible thing to see, and I think every temple in the world should be like Haldia. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I've been in a few different temples around the world. Nobody understands Sankirtan party like Haldia. The Sankirtan party. I mean, and I've always emphasized that word party because I like parties, and there's no better party than the Sankirtan party. It's nothing better than this. Where else? I mean, imagine if you guys did this at 4:30 in the morning. And you did what you did, danced like that at 4:30 in the morning. Where in the world are they dancing like that at 4:30 in the morning? Nightclubs are all closing down. Everybody's drunk and out of it, and they're going, oh, I gotta go home. You guys are just starting to open up to life for the day, and you're starting by chanting and dancing. The bond that you guys have is amazing. As soon as I walked in here this morning, I could feel this connected energy for Krishna. And Prabhupada would just be over the moon about what's going on here. He would. He'd be so happy. And I view things like that. Like in Mayapur, it's so crowded. Gaur Pranim is ridiculously crowded. But then I think Prabhupada would be so happy to see. He got excited when one or two people would come through the gate into Mayapur's compound. One or two, he'd be excited. What if he saw 50,000 people showing up? What if he saw this Mangal Arti? You don't think he'd be like over the moon? He'd be so ecstatic. So that's how I try to relate things. Would Prabhupada like this? Would Prabhupada be happy? Would Prabhupada be happy that we're going out on Harinam this afternoon? Of course he would. He'd be ecstatic. This is what spread our movement, is this Harinam Sankirtan. This book distribution, this Harinam, this Sadhu Sangha. You don't get better association than right here. This is the best. And you're lucky you have Kumar falling asleep. I mean, because he worked so hard. He came all the way to Mayapur to get me and come back. I appreciated that so much. Where's our driver? He's crashed. He drove for like 13 hours. I kept looking at him going, he's not falling asleep. How's he doing this? He's just sitting there. 13 hours. Who drives for 13 hours without even getting a little tired? He didn't even look tired. But that's seva. That's wonderful. But that is the mood. And you guys have such a wonderful mood. And even though the bed was terrible. But that's such a small part of being in this Iskcon Haldia. I mean, I could care less about that right now, to be honest with you. After experiencing this morning program, I don't want to leave. This is wonderful. This is ecstatic. So thank you, Kumar Lila, for inviting me down here. It's very, very, very special. This should be experienced by all devotees. You know, this is Krishna consciousness. This is the way Prabhupada wanted us to be. This bond between you guys, this energy that you are sharing to chant and dance, and somehow or other spread this Krishna consciousness throughout this whole area. And that should be your goal, to have all of Haldia become Krishna conscious. Yeah. Okay? We're done? Thank you. Huh?
Tomorrow again question.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So we have question.
Thank you.
So let us thank Prabhu for his wonderful answer. All of us are feeling enthusiastic? Prabhu is sacrificing a lot. Actually, whole night he could not sleep. Because I thought that I sleep on black mat and Chadai, so we thought Gada will be comfort. It was austerity. The whole night could not sleep on. Despite that, he is extending himself. So he is not only speaking that he didn't listen to his mind. The whole night he has not slept. Then to be here and be answered very difficult. But he just out of love for Prabhupada and to encourage all of us, he is extending. So let us really thank him from the core of our heart that he comes out to chanting. We'll get more of Prabhu's association. It will be festival for boys outside. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We'll have prasad.
Okay. Thank you. Whatever. You tell me where to go.